Hello there. Welcome to Politically Unstable with Charles Hurt, the Washington Times opinion editor. I'm your host, Andy Parks, and I'd like to remind you that you qualify for a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. And all you have to do is go to washingtontimes.com/Andy. That's washingtontimes.com/ANDY. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Washington Times opinion editor, Charlie Hurt. Hello, Charlie.
Hey, Andy, Merry Christmas.
You too. You too. Got the tree up yet?
We haven't. We often fail to get the tree until about 2 days before Christmas. And sometimes we have been known to relieve a highway median of a Christmas tree if necessary.
Yeah, one that was decorated last year.
When you drive around south side of Virginia, some of those beautiful Christmas trees you'll ever find are the ones growing in the median.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get them before the highway department comes and cuts them down,
yeah,
they're perfect. They're absolutely perfect cedars.
I'll be darned. How about that? Huh. All right, let's talk about your column, Roe on Death Watch. Looked like a circus in front of the Supreme Court last week, and even in the Supreme Court last week.
First of all, the arguments I thought before the court, in particular made by the lawyer representing the state of Mississippi that was defending the new state law, one of the clearest, most concise arguments I've ever heard. If we lived in a sane country, English teachers across the country would be printing out those arguments and passing them out to students to study for the clarity and simplicity of an argument. And one of the points that the lawyer made, which I think is very true, is that a big reason why this fight continues the way it does with such acrimony is the fact that it hasn't been settled among people who've been elected to make decisions. It was unilaterally settled 50 years ago by 9 men in black robes who have never been elected to anything. And it will never end until the actual voters are allowed to have a voice in settling this issue. And obviously it's a complicated issue in a lot of ways. It's simple in other ways. It gets very complicated very quickly. And the idea that the one group of people that are not allowed to have a voice in this are actual voters is why it's such a nasty fight. And of course, and what I think was made clear by arguments last week is that if the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade or guts it, which I think is very, very possible, and in fact, if the seated justices today voted the way their legal philosophy dictates, Roe v. Wade is indefensible. Even pro-abortion people will tell you, people who are principled legal scholars, people who study the law, will tell you that Roe v. Wade is indefensible as a legal position. And so, and what I think became very clear is if Roe v. Wade is gutted or overturned, it's not going to make abortion illegal across the country in an instant. It's simply going to kick the issue back to state legislatures where the issue, and the federal legislature, but the state legislature and federal legislatures, where if in fact there is a God-given right or a constitutional right, guaranteed right in the Constitution to have abortions at any point during a pregnancy, then legislatures will be forced to back that up and to establish that. But as it stands right now, this idea of finding this guaranteed right to abortion in the Constitution simply doesn't exist. And so, if it returns to legislatures and voters elect people who say, and by the way, the legislature in wherever in Tennessee comes in and decides to ban abortion for all 9 months, and then voters say, that really makes us mad, and they throw those people out, well, then obviously that's not where Tennessee law is going to wind up. It's going to wind up wherever Tennessee voters decide. And same goes at the federal level. But the idea that you can't trust American voters to have a say in this is not only legally indefensible, but it's also morally indefensible.
Yeah. Justice Sotomayor, is she a doctor or a mortician?
I don't know. She told us that she was a wise Latina when she got nominated. I don't know what the hell that means, and I don't know why we're talking about that, but that's what she told us. And it's like, okay, but she's not a very wise one. She got herself into, at one point during the arguments, during her questions, she started talking about scraping the feet of dead people, and
Yeah.
if they're brain dead, or if they don't flinch, or if they do flinch and they're dead. It was crazy. But I mean, but the idea that, but I will say that she did sort of make a very strong argument that that brain dead people can still make movements. And I think she unintentionally made the point that brain dead people can even make it onto the Supreme Court. But apparently, I don't think that was her intended point in all of that. But that was certainly the takeaway. You can be, apparently you take a brain dead person and put a black robe on them and call them a wise Latina, and then suddenly you can make them a Supreme Court justice.
And they want to stack the court.
Yes. Well, because it's like putting Bondo on your truck. It's like you just your truck is falling apart, it's rusting to pieces,
Yeah.
and you're just like, well, more Bondo. Let's just put more Bondo. And it's like you're not fixing anything. You're just hoping that you can sort of spackle enough on there to the point where you can get through the drive-through one time without the thing falling apart. But it's like, that's not going to fix anything.
Oh.
And it does very long-term damage. Eventually, it falls apart. And the only reason anybody ever wants to stack a court is because they want a full, complete, total power grab takeover of all branches of a government is the only reason for doing that.
Yeah. Hey, before I let you run today, did you catch any of the Biden-Putin 2-hour festivity yesterday?
Yeah, talk about brain dead. Oh,
Yeah.
Goodness. It was truly painful to watch. Again, and we talked about this before, Andy. It's not just as an American watching this huge national embarrassment on the public stage, but as someone who cares about the elderly and doesn't want to see an elderly man completely embarrassed in this kind of way. It's painful to watch. It really is. His family really should intervene, and it's, to heck with the 25th Amendment. His family should come in and just sort of wheel him off into his deserved retirement somewhere.
Yeah. 2 hours. Poor Putin. At the end of the call, he probably scratched his head and said, well, all right, we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing.
Yeah. If you're Putin, you go through 2 hours of that, you walk away thinking, okay, well, we can do whatever we want to do. I mean,
Yeah.
who's going to stop us?
That's true. Folks, you can read all of Charlie Hurt's columns at WashingtonTimes.com. Have a great holiday season, and perhaps we'll talk again next week. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah. Hope to do that. Thanks, bud.
Thanks for listening to Politically Unstable with Charlie Hurt. Remember, you can read all of Charlie's columns at WashingtonTimes.com. And while you're there, check out our great selection of podcasts. I'm Andy Parks. Have a great day.